Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
So, Chelsea, you have some news for us. It's not necessarily movie news, but can you tell us the update?
I have 4 broken toes and a broken foot.
And a broken foot. And this happened recreationally?
No, this happened at stupid work.
It's a work-related accident. And
Me versus door.
And you're currently rocking the Darth Vader boot.
Yeah.
I call it the RoboCop.
RoboCop, all right, that works. Either one is very orthopedically sound. And we wish you a speedy recovery.
4 to 6 weeks minimum.
4 to 6 weeks minimum. But this is not a calendar podcast. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 22 of Cinema Chop Shop. This is a movie podcast that concedes that remakes are going to happen. So why shouldn't movie buffs,
like us,
decide who is recast in those iconic roles? My name is...
Interview with the Travampire.
Yep.
A.K.A. the Travenet of Dr. Caligari. A.K.A. Pan's Travarinth.
Oh, that one's good.
Thanks,
I like
man.
that
I
one.
like that one, too.
And I'm joined, as always, here in the shop by my co-host and co-producer, the engineer of this very show, Shaun of Frankenstein, a.k.a. the Innocence, a.k.a. Shawnee Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street.
Yeah, that tracks.
And also in our third seat, well, most of her is in the seat, she's known as the Regulator, also the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, a.k.a. the Pit and the Pendulum, a.k.a. Dracula.
Nice.
So further description of the show, the tagline says, watch, chop, retrofit, because essentially that's what we do here. We watch older movies, sometimes they're classic films with iconic actors, and then we retrofit them by tweaking the design with new parts. It's alive! Quick disclaimer, we're not actually in favor of the remake, reboot, sequel-dependent cinematic culture.
There's no way out.
This is more of an exercise in satire and irony. We try to be funny.
And sometimes we succeed.
That'll bring us into our first segment this week, which is going to be movie news. And this is where, throughout our time between episodes, we try to pay attention to stories and other events that relate to our show or that our listeners, you, the chop shoppers out there, might find interesting. And unfortunately, it's been a couple weeks since a proper episode. And so we do have 3 RIPs to report on. 3 RIPs. And the first one is Melvin Van Peebles, the godfather of black cinema, has died at the age of 89. He directed Watermelon Man. He did everything on Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song and wrote a pair of Broadway musicals. Van Peebles died on September 22nd, 2021 at his home in Manhattan, New York at the age of 89. That's what we call a good run. And he's survived by his sons, Mario and Max, and his daughter, Marguerite. That comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter. Next, R.I.P. Willie Garson. Right?
Garçon means boy.
Is it Garson?
I think it's Garson.
Willie Garson, who was known for Sex and the City and White Collar, but also some movies. He's been in movies like Groundhog Day, There's Something About Mary, and Soap Dish. Chelsea, have you ever seen Soap Dish?
I have not.
I think you would like it. Garçon died from pancreatic cancer.
Oh, bummer.
And he died at home in Los Angeles on September 21st at the age of 57. So rest in peace and rest in power to him. And then this one kind of touched a nerve, you guys. R.I.P. Rest in peace and rest in power to an OG Travis. Tommy Kirk, the embattled child star who led such a turbulent life, beginning with his portrayal of young Travis Walton in Old Yeller, has passed away. An actor best known for his work with Disney in the 1950s and early 60s, most notably starring in Old Yeller, The Shaggy Dog, Swiss Family Robinson, and more, Kirk's career was derailed in the mid-60s after developing a drug addiction, an issue highlighted by a high-profile arrest in 1964. The fact that, by that point, the highly conservative studios were realizing Kirk was gay probably didn't help. He starred in several of the highest-grossing films of the period for Disney, alongside a series of beach party films for American International Pictures that frequently paired him with Annette Funicello, and was named a Disney legend in 2006. Per Variety, Kirk was reportedly found dead in his Las Vegas home on Tuesday. He was 79. No cause of death listed at this point. Do you have a follow-up on that?
I do, because last night, like after trivia, I was just minding my own business, like trying to let off the day. And Sean walks up to me and goes, "Travis is dead." My fucking heart fell out of my ass. I was like...
He told me that, and I said... LOL, but don't play like that.
Right?
So rest in peace and rest in power to those three icons of cinema. Next, speaking of cinematic endeavors, you guys heard there's going to be a all CGI Mario movie? Like an animated Mario movie coming out, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And the voice cast is getting a little bit of flack because it's very mainstream, and according to... one source, Johnny Leguizamo, he's criticizing the all-white lead cast, specifically the fact that there's no Latino in the lead roles of Mario and Luigi, which I think is fair. What do you think, Sean?
I don't care.
And that comes to us from CBR.com. This one you might care about. The official Back to the Future the Musical releases an electrifying first trailer. I didn't even know this was a thing. Has Back to the Future the Musical already been on like Broadway and now they're making it into a movie?
I don't know, but when have they started doing trailers for musicals?
So that's what I mean. It must be a film version of a play musical based on the movie. The musical adaptation of the 1985 blockbuster Back to the Future, Marty, gets its first official trailer, which promises an explosive, electrifying performance. The show has received glaring reviews by critics, and the trailer teases all the iconic moments that made the original film a pop culture phenom. So it's fanboy jerk-off time.
I guess.
I'll be there. I'll be first in line. That comes to us also from CBR.com. That's Comic Book Review. Next, Warner Media CEO admits that the Warner Brothers HBO Max release strategy was rushed and should have been handled better. Basically, what he's saying is they pushed through this deal without actually informing any of the filmmakers that that's how it was going to happen. And then all the filmmakers got, shall we say, butthurt about
a little bit.
Yeah, but I will stand by my position that it's a good thing that during these times, and especially during the Great Quar, that there was the option to watch blockbuster movies at home.
I've said it before. Do you want movies under less than desirable circumstances, or do you want no movies?
No movies or some movies?
Because no movies means no work for the actors or directors or producers or the crew.
Also, if you fuck around, there won't be any people to go to the movies. Next, Sundance hires a new CEO. Joanna Vincent, or Vincente maybe, will leave the Toronto International Film Festival to succeed Carrie Putnam. Vincente takes the Sundance reins at a turbulent time of change for the American Independent Film Company. That's from IndieWire. I would like to one day go to a big film festival.
It would be great.
That'd be cool.
Be fun.
It'd be great to be invited as guests.
Oh yeah, we could be on a panel, or we could do a live episode. We're looking at you, Sundance. And Butch Cassidy. Ridley Scott says Gladiator 2 is being written now and will be ready to go after his Napoleonic epic. This is from The Playlist. When filmmakers grow older, they tend to become less prolific, taking years between projects. Ridley Scott apparently didn't get that memo. Not only has the output from the legendary director increased in recent years, they just mean that he's released movies under the production name Legendary. No, he's good. Increased in recent years, he actually has 2 films coming out this year. The Last Duel, which I'm excited about, and also The House of Gucci, which, isn't that Lady Gaga?
Yeah,
I think so.
And I think Adam Driver.
Ooh, all right. And it appears that he has another back-to-back production cycle ahead of him with 2 new films after that, including the long-awaited Gladiator sequel. Were you not entertained the first time? And that's going to wrap us up on movie news. Do you guys hear a phone ringing? that must mean it's time for the Department of Corrections Department with Chief Corrections Officer Dana.
Pow! Sock! Blam! You didn't make any mistakes this week, Chop Shoppers. Good job. Enjoy some extra time in the yard. Oh, and Sean, you got a bat in the cave. See you next time.
All right. Thank you, Dana, for that. I guess you could say we were on our bat game. And that will close the doors to the bat cave for the Department of Corrections Department for this week. That brings us to the theme of the episode. This is going to kick off Halloween season, basically. It'll be October when this goes kerplunk.
Yeah.
When this bobs for the apple. And so this is kicking off our month-long Halloween horror series. And we've been doing this for a few years now, and it does become difficult to think of new topics to cover during this time. Right? And so I kind of tried to think outside of the cubicle, and we came up with one called Gothic Horror, sometimes known as Gothic Fiction. And just the idea of this subgenre was very intriguing to me. And I've always kind of had an idea of what that meant, but we really kind of nailed it down this week. And there was an article on Ranker, this ranker.com, and this was their blurb at the beginning of their top however many Gothic horror or Gothic fiction. Gothic horror, also commonly referred to as Gothic fiction, is a genre of literature or film that typically combines horror, fiction, and romance. The first recorded work of Gothic fiction was in 1764 when author Horace Walpole wrote the classic book A Gothic Story. Gothic fiction will pull on a pleasant sense of terror within the emotions and throw in some romantic feelings into the mix. Okay. Two other long-standing components of Gothic horror work are art and parody and melodrama. Some of the most well-known literary works of art were part of Gothic horror, including, most notably, Edgar Allan Poe's work, as well as Mary Shelley. And you can go to ranker.com, and that article is called Best Gothic Horror Movies of All Time. So, thoughts on the genre, guys? Do you think it's a worthy topic for our first?
Absolutely, it's worthy
October
because
episode?
some of the granddaddies of horror movies kind of come from this subgenre.
Yes.
And obviously Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and a few others that we'll talk about today. So yeah, I think it's legit.
Right on. Chelsea?
I guess I never really thought about it,
Right.
to be honest, but I have enjoyed all of the movies that I've watched.
Good deal.
And there are quite a few modern day films that still kind of hit in this wheelhouse.
And we'll talk about a couple of them in a few moments.
Yep.
So with that, we're going to go ahead and get things moving with our next segment, which is the Midnight Double Feature. And this is where we go around the panel and we each talk about two films that are within our subject at hand, this week being Gothic horror or Gothic fiction. And we discuss how they apply to the genre and why they would make a pairing for a good double feature. And Chelsea, are you ready to go with one?
Yeah.
Or two?
Two. I got two. I'm taking 1963's The Haunting
Yes.
and pairing it with 2001's The Others.
Right on. Okay, now I've seen The Others for sure. Remind me The Haunting.
Have you seen The Haunting of Hill House?
Yes.
Then you've...
It's based on that.
Yes.
And that was a continuation of the Bly Manor thing, right? In terms of the television show.
Sort of. The Netflix series was based on the book The Haunting of Hill House. The Haunting was the first adaptation of The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes.
Gotcha. Very nice. Of the two of those, which did you prefer?
Probably, I would have to say The Haunting, only because I'm really not a Nicole Kidman fan.
Understood. Have you ever seen a movie called Far and Away with her and her ex-husband, Tom Cruise? Because I think that might change your mind. Over to you, Sean. What's your double feature for us?
We'll let Chelsea finish that death stare. All right. I'm going to start off with 1922's Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror.
Okay.
This, of course, is the German expressionist horror film directed by
Murnau?
F.W. Murnau.
Moreau? Yeah. Murnau. Okay,
Murnau.
gotcha.
And it stars Max Schreck as Count Orlok.
Yes.
A vampire with an interest in both the new residents and the wife of his estate agent. So the film was produced as an unauthorized and unofficial adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula.
Correct.
So no need to get into the plot because we all
It's the same.
It's the same story. But, even with several of the details altered in the film, the Bram Stoker's heirs sued over the adaptation, and a court ruling ordered that all copies of the film be destroyed.
But you can still find it.
Well, yeah, somehow a few prints did survive, and it's kind of become one of these influential masterpieces of cinema.
I believe we watched it for the Werner Herzog episode, or maybe I went back and watched it.
Probably so, yeah, because Werner
he
did the Nosferatu, the vampire,
yes,
with his old cast of favorite actors.
his stable.
So I'm going to pair that with 2000's Shadow of the Vampire.
Okay.
And it's not a great movie, but it's worth mentioning here because it pulls its text directly from Nosferatu.
And the events surrounding it, correct?
Right. It's a metafiction film,
Yes.
I guess you would call it. It's directed by E. Elias Merhige. It's written by Stephen Katz. It stars John Malkovich and Willem Dafoe.
Uh-huh.
And
Willem Dafoe is a good Orlok.
yeah, it's a fictionalized documentary account about how the Max Schreck was really a vampire
In real life.
in real life, and Murnau keeps his team in the dark about the shooting schedule, about the locations, and about the casting of the vampire Count Orlok himself. And eventually, they kind of let on that it's a very obscure German actor, and he's a method actor.
Yes.
And he's only going to shoot at night,
And he won't break character.
He's not going to break character, and he's only going to appear in full makeup. So they really set it up that he is a real vampire. It's a fun movie. It's kind of silly. I remember it as being kind of a disappointment at the time, but in context, it's worth checking out if you've never seen it before.
Right on. I think that's a good double feature. They directly relate to each other. I'm going with something called Corman's Poe Cycle. I've got two entries into that. And so between 1960 and 1964, American International Pictures let Roger Corman produce and direct 8 movies based on or inspired by the work of American poet Edgar Allan Poe. And American poet and writer, I should say, for our English major listeners out there. Get it right. The first was The Fall of the House of Usher, or House of Usher, which we are going to talk about in a little bit. But that was followed by The Pit and the Pendulum, The Premature Burial, Tales of Terror, The Raven, The Haunted Palace, The Mask of the Red Death, and The Tomb of Ligeia. Sometimes Corman's 1963 film The Terror, produced immediately after The Raven, is recognized as being part of the Corman Poe cycle, although the film's story and title are not based on works of Edgar Allan Poe. So I took the second and third movie in the Poe cycle. I took The Pit and the Pendulum. I should also mention that 7 out of 8 of these movies also star Vincent Price. So The Pit and the Pendulum, based on the book, this is from 1961. It's got an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, and people were amazed by seeing these characters in color because they used the Panavision colorization, and it was blowing people away. But we've got Elizabeth Bernard Medina, played by Barbara Steele, has died in the prime of life after her brother, Francis, played by John Kerr, wants to know why, and her brother wants to know why. Elizabeth's husband, Nicholas, played by Vincent Price, and her doctor offer differing explanations, but when Francis learns that Nicholas's mother may have been buried alive, he begins to wonder if his sister met the same fate. And when he comes to believe that Elizabeth's spirit wanders about Nicholas's castle, Francis investigates and is stunned by what he finds. So I'm finding that in a lot of these movies that we're talking about, especially the ones based on Poe, there's a big buried alive theme, a recurring theme. So much so that the next film is called The Premature Burial. I promise this has never happened to me before, Barry. Baby? Damn it. Fuck that one. It's called The Premature Burial from 2013, directed by Roger Corman. It's got a 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, and this is the one that does not star Vincent Price. British actor Guy Carroll, that's his character, he's a British actor, is consumed with fear of being buried alive, which almost prevents him from marrying his fiancée, Emily. Regardless of his fears, Emily still marries him, but slowly starts to worry about his mental state. He becomes so obsessed with being buried alive, and he has that, what they would probably call narcolepsy now, but they called it something different then, where you just fall asleep and you can't be woken up, that it happens to him. He gets buried alive. Spoilers from 1962. Did I say 2013 at the beginning?
No, I don't know.
Well, I accidentally watched the 1999 version of The Pit and the Pendulum, and it's not nearly as good, but there is a lot more tits and ass.
Okay.
So that's going to wrap us up on the Midnight Double Feature for this week, bringing it to our feature segment, which is The Recast. And for this first selection, we're going with the first film in the Corman Poe cycle, The House of Usher, based on the book The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe and directed by legendary filmmaker Roger Corman. This thriller features Vincent Price as Roderick Usher, a man who believes his family to be cursed by incurable madness. So sure is he of his family's doom that when his sister Madeleine, played by Myrna Fahey, announces her engagement to Philip Winthrop, played by Mark Damon, Roderick will stop at nothing to prevent their marriage and keep the Usher bloodline from continuing. Then there's also the very problematic character of Raymond Usher, who... No, nobody's biting on this one. Raymond Usher.
Usher.
Yeah.
Say it right.
I got to say it right. So, the cast, we've got Vincent Price as Roderick Usher. We've got Mark Damon as Philip Winthrop. I really did look up to see if Mark Damon was related to Matt Damon, but he's not. Myrna Fahey as Madeleine Usher, and Harry Ellerby as Bristol, the footman and housekeeper and cook who's always doing the dirty work for Roderick.
Yeah, he's integral to the plot for sure.
He is. All right. So are we ready to do our recast?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So over to you first, Chelsea. Who is your pick for the Vincent Price role of Roderick Usher?
My actor was in 1917, The Courier, Doctor Strange. I went with Benedict Cumberbatch.
I shopped Cumberbatch. Benedict Cucumber Snatch. All right, that's good. So I was noticing that even though a lot of these actors were American, it had a very British feel. Yeah. Was that just Vincent Price like affecting?
I think they were aiming for that style. I think just to make it seem a little more highbrow than it really was.
Gotcha. And we did mention American International Pictures, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they were. I went down a little wiki rabbit hole with them. There's an interesting history there.
Sure.
All right, what do you got for us, Sean?
Well, first of all, let's talk about Vincent Price and that blonde hair.
Mm-hmm.
Comedic, very funny, unintentionally, and 49 years old at the time with a 27-year-old sister.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Much younger sister.
Yeah. Okay, so I kept calling him
Uncle Roderick,
my daughter's sister, or whatever. Anyway,
cousin brother.
For me, there was no other choice, just because of the immaculate Vincent Price impression that he does. He's 43 years old. He was in Inside Out, It, Chapter 2, Trainwreck, and the Skeleton Twins. I went with Bill Hader.
Oh, hell yeah!
Yeah, his Vincent Price is second to none.
Very good. All right. Well, so my first thought, which was an impossible one, was Alan Rickman. Because I think Alan Rickman was the heir apparent to Vincent Price while he was still with us.
So you're not going to recast Raymond Usher?
I'm not.
Oh, man, I thought you would.
And then I was like, well, who's next? Timothy Dalton. And I'm like, no, he's even too old to play the older Usher. So I went with somebody who is 57 now. He's been in a lot of things that would give it away, and I also did not write those down in my notes. His name's Crispin Glover.
Nice.
Crispin
I like
Glover
that.
is going to be
Yeah, I could see that. That's pretty cool.
Roderick Usher. Next up, we've got the role of Philip Winthrop. And Philip Winthrop is from Boston, and he has fallen in love with Madeleine, and he's come to whisk her off for their life together, but finds that she desires to leave, but believes that she can't. She's been so convinced by her older brother that she cannot leave. And if she does, then the Usher line would continue and then be continued to be doomed for the rest of time. So he shows up and he's like, what the fuck? What's going on? And so the character is Philip Winthrop, and he was played by Mark Damon. Chelsea, who's your pick?
I kind of thought he was a fucking pussy and a pushover.
Yeah.
Kind of a little screamy baby.
Okay.
And I think somebody can do better. My actor was in the movie Shirley, The Vanishing of Sydney Hall, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Percy Jackson. I went with Logan Lerman.
Logan Lerman. All right. So what are you saying about Logan Lerman?
He is not a pussy.
Okay. Over to you, Sean. Who's your pick for Philip Winthrop?
I went with a 46-year-old actor, and he's been in such things as Colossal,
Yes.
the Angry Birds movie,
Okay.
We're the Millers, and Ted Lasso.
Yes.
I went with Jason Sudeikis.
So apparently Ted Lasso costumes for this year's Halloween are trending.
Of course.
My pick for Philip Winthrop is 32 now. And in this adaptation, he's going to be somebody who's returning home from the military for his bride-to-be. And he is 32 now. His name is Max Theroux. Theroux? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
He's my pick. Next up, we've got Madeleine Usher. She had a real Vivian Leigh quality to me. I thought she was very pretty.
She was in some angles and some shots, and others she looked...
Well, she wasn't supposed to be in other shots. Yeah. She was supposed to be like in a trance and possessed or other things that we won't spoil. So, Chelsea, who is your pick for Madeleine Usher?
My actress was in the movie The Final Girls, The Bling Ring, but where I sort of drew my inspiration from was her character on American Horror Story, The Coven. I went with Tessa Farmiga.
Tessa Farmiga's a good pick, dude. For sure. I like it. And she's got a horror acumen.
Yeah.
She would be good in this. And so does her older sister. Vera. I'm going to veer over here to Sean. Who's your pick for Madeleine Usher?
My actress is 48 years old. She was in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. She was in Zoolander 2. She was in Wonder Woman 1984. And she was in The Skeleton Twins with her on-camera brother in this film, Kristen Wiig.
Nice, dude. Man, that movie's so good. All right, my pick is 31 now. Her name's Katie Findlay. I really did not write down any movies that these people have been in, but
Nice.
That's her.
Okay.
All right.
I see what you've done there.
Katie Findlay. Phenotypes. Next, we got one more role, and that's the role of Bristol. And he's like, but I swear I didn't know. Okay, I knew. And he's always kind of like doing the bidding of his master, the Lord of the Manor. And he was played by Harry Ellerby. Do we have an age on him, Sean?
59.
59, okay. And Chelsea, who's your pick for this one?
Well, I don't remember because I closed the tab and deleted the thing, but I know I didn't really like this pick, so it really doesn't matter.
All right. Right on. If it comes to you, then let us know.
I will.
Sean, what do you got?
Technical difficulties.
Sorry.
That's okay. I went with a 66-year-old actor, and it surprised me that he's 66. But I've been seeing him a lot lately because of the death of a certain actor.
Melvin Van Peebles?
No. Last week.
Oh.
Week before last.
That we will not mention.
He was in Epic Movie. He was in Scary Movie 3. He was in Blues Brothers 2000.
Uh-oh.
And most people would know him as Sean Connery on Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yes.
With Daryl Hammond.
Daryl Hammond is good. One of the longest running members of that cast on SNL.
And he continues to be an employee now as their MC.
He did take over for the original
Don
guy.
Pardo. Yeah.
Yes, Don Pardo. All right, well, I got an OG pick here.
So you got my theme, yeah?
All SNL.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, and a hard lean on Skeleton Twins.
Well, I kind of see them playing this kind of tongue-in-cheek.
But it makes sense, dude, because of the crypt.
Yeah.
There's skeletons in that crypt.
I want them to play it straight, but obviously kind of absurdist. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
I like it.
I yield to you, sir.
My pick you would know from things like ER and Goose. I went with Anthony Edwards.
Oh my God.
Hold on, I got him here.
Goose.
Can you name another thing?
Miracle Mile.
Miracle Mile, that's correct. Good one. Do you see the picture?
Revenge of the Nerds.
Doesn't he look put upon?
Yeah.
Yes, Revenge of the Nerds, you're right. All right, so final thoughts on House of Usher.
I thought it was fine.
I liked it.
There were some schlocky elements, but also some really cool elements. I thought the paintings of the
That's
ancestors.
another thing I was going to say. I saw the artist's name in the credits, and I didn't write it down, but they were one of the best parts of the
they were
movie.
really creepy.
Yes.
I picked Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, that's a great pick.
Yeah, that's good. Those paintings were dope. Very well, considering it was what year are we talking? 1960. They were a little bit psychedelic.
Yeah, they were. And also, I guess I should give it's a little bit of a spoiler, but there are some blood effects in the movie. And for the time, it didn't look like opaque tomato soup.
Okay.
It actually looked kind of sort of like blood, which I thought was nice because early 60s, you think of that really shitty looking red paint blood effect.
And Roger Corman wasn't necessarily known for his big budget effects.
Oh, yeah. Get it done on the cheap.
So that's going to wrap us up on the first part of our feature segment. And we're going to head into intermission, but not before we say, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some garlic bread. And for those of you just tuning in, you're listening to the Chop Shop Morning Zoo on WCCS 85.5 FM, The Shop, with Travisito,
The Brew Boss.
And me, Chelsea, the Regulator, where we'll be breaking down the recast of your precious childhood movies.
all morning long. And if you can't listen on your toilet or in your car,
just search for Cinema Chop Shop on Podbean.com. And it came to pass that the Lord Pod saith unto the Chop Shoppers to go forth, to rate, to review, and to subscribe to Cinema Chop Shop on all of your social media and your podcaster apps. Now it's about time for the holy sacrament of a beer check-in. You too can follow the path to Cinema Chop Shop on Untapped. That's UNTAPPD. Everyone, hallelujah!
Praise Jesus!
Amen.
Well, hello there, all you naughty chop shoppers. So, you like to listen? Oh, you're bad. Wouldn't you also love to see all of our hot pictures and posts on our very own social media? Just search for Cinema Chop Shop on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, if you think you can handle it.
This weekend on CCS Wrestling.
Woo! If you miss this event, you suck! Woo!
It'll be the ultimate recasting extravaganza you have ever seen between the challenger,
Trontastic Ron! I'm gonna rip his face off! Woo!
and the defending champ,
Little Thanos, you ain't got nothing, brother.
I can't stop saying woo! It's an actual medical condition. So if you've got a problem with that, we'll see you in Gmail. where you can send us comments, corrections, concerns, and complaints.
That's cinemachopshop@gmail.com. Do you need a used movie?
Good credit, bad credit, no problem.
Come on down to Wacky Trav's Cinema Chop Shop Blowout Sale,
He's out of his mind.
where we can guarantee you'll go home happy. Social security number, criminal background check, and blood sample required. Side effects may include euphoria, hallucinations, and delusions of grandeur. So please remember to watch, chop, retrofit. All right, we are back, Chop Shoppers. Thank you for bearing with us. And when we come back from intermission, Sean, what do we like to do?
Beer check-ins.
And we've got a couple that are on theme. What's the first one?
The first one is from Fonta Flora Brewing up in North Carolina, and it's called They've Changed.
They've changed.
It's an unfiltered double IPA, dry hopped with hand-selected Mosaic, Eldorado, and Azaka. I think that's funny that they say hand-selected.
They selected different hands to put on the creature that they're creating. All right, so we're going to try that. And you said triple hopped double IPA?
Yeah.
Okay. Stop triple hopping your beers. I don't know. I saw an article that said that.
No, normally you're going to put...
Are they going to make the hops go extinct, though?
No.
I heard that they were endangered.
Well, you got 3 stages of hopping in your beers. If you want to change out the hops, that's fine.
Oh. I can deal with that. That's kind of tasty.
See, I'm not a huge fan of I like Fauna Flora. I'm not a huge fan of their IPAs.
Okay. What would you say the detracting qualities are?
There's a candy sweetness to it.
It's not bitter enough.
Yeah, not bitter enough?
No, I detect
I like bitter IPAs.
I detect a very candy sweetness, and especially at a double IPA.
So
that's
the booze.
That's a challenge.
Right? That's the booziness.
No, that's the maltiness used to disguise the booziness.
Oh,
I think it's out of balance.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Chelsea, I will leave it to you on what we rate that beer on Untapped. That's UNTAPPD.
Oh, I get that power too. Okay, great.
And I'm sure that profile is rocking and rolling. Speaking of rocking and rolling, we're talking about the 2021 movie marathon, which is an exercise in fortitude and diligence in which we try to watch as many movies as we can throughout the calendar year, the goal being 365 or above and beyond. And we check them in online in various places with the hashtag 2021 movie marathon, unless it's not the year 2021. Then that changes to a different year. Like here in a little while, it'll be a 2022 movie marathon.
And last year was the 2020 movie marathon.
We're not talking about last year. It is, as of this recording, the 273rd day of the year, and I gained some ground this week. I'm on number 268.
Good job. I'm at 300 on the button.
On the button.
I'm at 334.
I misspoke. I'm on 267. I was hoping to get in one more movie when I typed in this number, but it didn't happen. So 267 is my number. Say yours again.
334.
334. That means you've got 31 to go?
Yeah.
That's a month. That's a month's worth of movies if you only watched one a day.
No, my goal is to have it done by my birthday.
All right. Well, speaking of goals, do you have the goal of telling us your first check-in?
Yes, I do. I watched Crimson Peak.
Ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's beautiful to look at.
Very much so.
It's creepy. But what really got me, I think, was the House of Usher. Mm-hmm. There's some parallels.
There definitely is. There's a lot of kind of homage to that. And we are talking about a movie that was directed by Guillermo del Toro, correct?
Yes.
And we were talking off mic about how a bunch of his movies seem to be influenced by specific Gothic horror films. Can you cite some examples, Sean?
Yeah, Shape of Water, the creature from the Black Lagoon. There are elements of Kronos that are directly from Bela Lugosi, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
From Bela Lugosi's
From
Dracula.
Bela Lugosi himself. No, from Dracula. We were surmising what would be the elements from Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, and I said A Midsummer Night's Dream, but that's not
That's
Gothic.
not Gothic horror at all. But, he does... He does it well. He borrows, but not in a stealing kind of way.
No, it's very much his own.
Yeah.
Inspired.
And, again, in this movie, he does a great job of just making gore seem exquisite.
And it does star the...
You got Tom
Loki,
Hiddleston.
Loki man himself. My pick for the next James Bond, as I'm on record as saying, and as well as Mila Wachowski.
Wachowski, and then
She was Alice in Wonderland.
and then Jessica Chastain is in it, as is Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam, who we spoke about last week at length. So
We don't talk about last week.
Did Sean tell you that I failed to mention that, like Lion's rat tail, my lower back hair is the source of my power?
I did not tell her that.
Okay, so it's over to me.
You go. That's me.
sorry?
Whatever.
I thought you just did yours.
No, he just hijacked mine.
I was just making a comment.
All right, back it up. Where are we at?
I'm gonna
Sean's turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Rebecca. This is from 1940. It's Alfred Hitchcock's first American film, and it's considered to be a Gothic horror movie. But there are no real ghosts. There is no haunted house. There is no actual horror. It's a whirlwind romance, typical of the time. You've got a girl who falls in love with a very wealthy man from England, and she goes and she marries him, and they go back home to his house, Madeleine, which is the sprawling mansion. And
Wait, is it the Mandel Inn?
no. And she finds out that he is widowed. His wife, Rebecca, died just a year ago. And when they arrive at the house, the entire west wing of the home is shut off. They live in the east wing. And the house staff are so respectful and reverent about Rebecca.
Right.
That becomes the ghost.
The ghost. The memory of her.
The memory of her and the high esteem that they hold her in becomes this ever-present, almost oppressive ghost-like presence.
Yes.
And sorry to spoil a movie from 1940, the house becomes kind of like a haunted encasing as well, and in the end burns down to the ground, taking with it the head of the household, the head maid. So there are Gothic horror elements in an otherwise not in horror film.
So they did make a remake with this, and who was in it? Heir to the Arm & Hammer fortune?
Yeah, Armie Hammer and Lily James.
Lily James. Now, is this pre or post cannibalism?
I think it was during it. He may have been eating on set.
Yeah, he was eating Lily James' toes. My first check-in is going to be number 257, and it's called Hercules Returns. And it is not the sequel to Hercules in New York starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is from 1993. This is the tagline. Funnier than Gandhi, sexier than The Little Mermaid, shorter than Dances with Wolves.
Oh, okay.
A movie buff and theater scrub quits his job and tries to revitalize an old cinema. The opening film, Hercules Returns, arrives without subtitles, and the employees improvise a hilarious dub over.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's cute.
Yeah,
I wanna watch it.
it's a movie man's movie.
Gotcha.
What do you got next, Chelsea?
I'm going to do my second and my third together.
Okay, that works.
Back to my Marvel watching. I watched Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Marvelous.
I fucking loved it. It's great.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Who's your favorite Guardian?
Groot.
Groot's pretty good. And so with Volume 2, you got to see Baby Groot.
Yes.
Right? Do you not want one on your dash of your car? Just a little
I want one
baby?
everywhere.
Yes. He is the Baby Yoda of that year.
So cute.
All right. Very good. And so you are looking forward to Volume 3.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to Awesome Mixtape Volume 3.
Yep.
Because that's a full playlist for trivia.
That's great.
Over to you, Sean.
All right, I am checking in Malignant. And if you've not seen this, drop what you're doing after you finish the podcast.
After the podcast.
And watch it. It's on HBO Max. And it is directed by James Wan.
Of the Insidious and all of those jump scare movies.
Yes, essentially it is possibly the best example of a director trolling Warner Brothers in history. It's hilarious. It's cheesy. It's absurd. It's over the top. There are elements of homage to the film Basket Case.
What's in the basket?
I can't say much more than that because it would be giving away too much. It is an off the rails wild ride, and I was laughing and loving it the whole time.
Very nice. Excuse me. My next check-in is number 261 for me. And it's called Birds of Paradise. And it's either on Netflix or Prime. It's on one of those. And it's from 2021. Here's the tagline. Betrayal is a dance.
Oh.
Betrayal is a dance. Two dancers at an elite ballet academy in Paris must compete for a contract to join the highly coveted Opéra National de Paris as they confront their competitive nature, sexual awakenings, and how far they'll go to win. So, please explain to me how this is not exactly like Black Swan. Anybody?
Yeah, yes.
That tracks.
It does.
All right, next up. Chelsea, you got one more?
No, I did both of them
two
together.
2 and 3. That's right. Over to you, Sean.
I've opened another beer. How are you on your levels over there? All right. So I've opened another semi-on theme, Woodland Pursuit.
Oh, as though the townsfolk are chasing a creature through the woods.
This is a New Zealand juicy IPA from Humble Forager. Now, I've had a few beers from Humble Forager, and usually they are fruited sours.
Okay.
That taste like you're drinking the most exquisite fruit pulp. I mean, it's just really good. It reminds me of 8th State Brewing up in Greenville, if you've ever had theirs.
I have.
But this is a New Zealand IPA with Nelson Sauvin, Rawaka, and Matuka.
Rawaka and Matuka.
So I'm going to pass this over to you to pour while I...
And so your next check-in is...
Yeah, my final check-in for the week is going to be a little-known gem that I discovered. This is from 1991. You can watch it free on Prime. It is called Zandalee.
Zandalee. Now, is this subtitled And Her Erotic Adventures on Earth?
It should have been. It's got Nicolas Cage.
Oh, okay.
Judge Reinhold affecting a New Orleans accent. It's got,
a bad one, right?
Yeah, it's got Joey Pants playing a cross-dresser.
Whoa.
And it has...
So he wasn't wearing pants.
And it has Marissa Tomei very briefly.
Marissa Tomei?
Yeah.
All right, I'm on board, but you said there was one scene that was full Cage rage.
I'll get there in a second,
okay.
But if you take a look at the movie poster, take a look at the lead actress. If you find her attractive, watch this movie because you get to see her naked a lot. I felt like we were in a relationship at one point because I'd seen her naked so many times.
So many times it became blasé.
Yeah, but nothing says Cage rage like sitting on the floor in your underwear and angrily slap coating yourself with black paint. Just black it out. Just black it out. Rah!
He should have used Flex Seal.
He should have. It's a shit show. It's not a great movie, but it's worth watching for some laughs.
Or if you are a Cage completist.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, I've got one more, and it is 267, the most recent film I have seen. It's called The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper. And I somehow just fell upon this movie yesterday, and I texted you, Sean, or messaged you. I hung out with you. Google, send us that money. And I was like, did you know that there's a D.B. Cooper speculative biopic starring Treat Williams and Robert Duvall?
Wow, I did not know it.
I didn't know either, but it came out in 1981. And here's the tagline. Who says you can't take it with you? Speculative crime thriller about infamous aircraft hijacker D.B. Cooper, who escaped with $200,000 after leaping from the back of a Boeing 727 in 1971. This was directed by the greatly named Roger Spottiswoode. And starring, like I said, Treat Williams and Robert Duvall. But you guess who else shows up?
Who?
The principal from The Breakfast Club.
Nice.
Paul Gleason, I think is his name.
Bull, you're gonna get the horns,
young man. And so also the person who played DB, or I mean that's his alias obviously, but his wife who goes on the run with him was pretty smoking hot. And I thought she might have been the girl from Tremors.
Oh?
But it wasn't. It was a different girl. But yeah, I am glad that I tracked down that movie and watched it in its entirety. And you can see it too on Tubi.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Nice.
Send us that money, Tubi. Hey, what do you think about this beer?
I think that this is, it tastes like I'm eating a bowl of, what's the word? Like pomegranate, what's the nectar and...
I don't know where you're going with this.
Me neither.
Nectar, the fruit of the gods.
Oh, ambrosia.
Ambrosia. It tastes like ambrosia.
It's really tasty. It is in keeping with their other, like I said, their fruited sours. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of fruitiness involved here.
I can deal with it.
Yeah, I like this one better than the Fanta beer.
We need a t-shirt line that just has a picture of a beer and it has
I
me
wouldn't
saying,
kick it out of bed.
I can deal with it.
I wouldn't kick it out of bed for eating crackers.
Eating crackers. Sir, I am a cracker. That's a callback to our Steve Martin episode. All right, so...
Chelsea's losing her shit over here.
It's time. Chelsea, I'm sorry. We got to keep rolling. We're going long here. The recast continued, the second part of our feature segment, and we're talking about The Curse of Frankenstein from 1957. This was directed by Terence Fisher and has an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. Victor Frankenstein, played by Peter Cushing, and people who don't know about his work with Hammer Films would know him as Grand Moff Tarkin from Star Wars. Plays a brilliant scientist willing to stop at nothing in his quest to reanimate a deceased body. After alienating his longtime friend and partner, Paul Kramp, played by Robert Urquhart, with his extensive and extreme methods, Frankenstein assembles a hideous creature, played by Christopher Lee. And for the younger listeners, that's Count Dooku and Saruman. Out of dead body parts and succeeds to bring him to life. But the monster is not as obedient or docile as Frankenstein expected, and it runs amok, resulting in murder and mayhem. So, we've all seen the Boris Karloff one. I had not seen this version of Frankenstein before.
Full disclosure, this is the first non-Star Wars Peter Cushing movie I've seen.
Okay.
You know, I'd always known that he and Christopher Lee made a lot of movies together in this kind of the horror genre. And,
well, they did a bunch for Universal, and they also did a bunch for Hammer.
Yeah, so this was my first one, so I was really
The Hammer
excited.
is my penis.
Yeah, thank you. I was excited to see this, and I liked it. I liked the science angle that they put on it. I liked the motive that they assigned to Frankenstein. He was doing this for possible future medical advancements,
right?
And having a mentor as a key character.
Isn't that also the theme of the recent Shyamalan thing?
Oh yeah, kind of
future medical advancements.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But like having a mentor really kind of helped the story along. He wasn't so lonely and just deranged. You had this guy that kind of helped the story along as well.
Igor though.
That's fine.
I really
didn't
wish
mind
there
that.
was an Igor.
I didn't mind that. Chelsea, what did you think about it?
I liked it.
We can tell. We can tell how much you liked it by your enthusiasm. So once again, those roles, we've got Baron Victor Frankenstein, played by Peter Cushing. We've got Paul Kramp. Is it Kramp?
Crimpy?
Crimp? It's like when somebody walks by with a plate of crimp.
Oh my God.
Then we've got Elizabeth, played by Hazel Court. And then The Creature, played by Christopher Lee. The makeup was not so great on him, but he really, really leaned into it.
He reminded me of Emo Phillips from back in the day.
Say again?
Emo Phillips, remember him?
I don't know.
Comedian?
What that is. No.
Oh, never mind. I'll cut it out.
Is his first name Emo?
Yeah. Look him up sometime.
Okay. All right. So, Chelsea, who's your pick for the Peter Cushing role of Baron Victor Frankenstein?
My actor was in a movie that wasn't that good called Isn't It Romantic? But most people would know him as Lucifer from the TV show Lucifer. I went with Tom Ellis.
Oh, that's a pretty good pick.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. It's the devil you know.
You're welcome, Internet.
And over you, Sean, your pick for
All right.
Frankenstein.
So, did you notice that Peter Cushing, who's 44 at the time, somehow became older than his mentor, who was 36 at the time?
Well, I mean, being a mad scientist will age you, bro. It's like 4 years in the Oval Office.
Yeah, and Hazel Court was 31. So there's some age things that I attempted to correct in my recast. So my lead actor, is 40 years old. We've already talked about him tonight. The gauntness, the long face, just really kind of screamed at me that we really needed to recast this as Tom Hiddleston.
Ah, Tom Hiddleston. Okay. I'm glad that neither of you picked my choice, and this was a no-brainer for me. And if you don't know who I'm picking, then you haven't been paying attention.
Frankenstein's a no-brainer, by the way.
Oh, but there is a brain in there.
Yeah, it's just not the one they wanted.
It's not the brain you want, it's the brain you have. And so I was talking about when they did the Grand Moff Tarkin CGI thing for one of the newer Star Wars standalone movies, I believe. I think it was the
the Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Yeah.
And I was like, they should have just gotten this guy. You'd know him from things like, I don't know, Game of Thrones. His name is Charles Dance, and he was Tywin Lannister. He's a bit older, but that's going to work. It's going to work completely well. They're basically the same person.
I dig it.
All right, next up, we've got the role of Paul Kramp, played by Robert Urquhart, not to be confused with the late, great Robert Ulrich. And who was your pick for this, Chelsea? Please lay it on us.
My actor was in Igby Goes Down, The Dangerous Life of Altar Boys, Cider House Rules, bunch of other crap.
Cider House Rules.
I went with Kieran Culkin.
Kieran Culkin. You always want to throw that extra N
I
in
do.
there. You want to throw that N Culkin. So I get him confused with the other middle Culkin. Rory.
Rory's younger than he is.
Yeah, but then there's a younger one than them. There's a girl. But Culkins, man, you can't go wrong with that.
He's great.
You're gonna win with a Culkin. Don't be skulking around my Culkin. Over to you, Sean.
All right, keeping with the age appropriateness of my recast, I went with a 52-year-old actor who is total face value, but is also a great actor in his own right. You would know him from The Queen, Underworld, Rise of the Lycans, perhaps. I don't know. He was in Frost Nixon. He was in Masters of Sex. I went with Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen is great.
He looks just like the dude.
He was also in Sarah Silverman.
Yes, he was.
My pick for Paul Kramp is 51 now. You would know him from a lot of Edgar Wright vehicles. His name is Simon Pegg.
Nicely done.
Simon Pegg. It might be some sort of impossible mission to get him to sign up for this.
Pegged it.
Totally pegged it. Next up, we've got the lady Elizabeth, played by Hazel Court. And Hazel Court was very beautiful. She was also busty. She had that corset going on, and that influenced my pick. Can I give mine first?
Sure. Because
I'm already leading into it. My pick is, you would know her from Game of Thrones, and also, what was the other show she was on? She was on another show. The Tudors, Natalie Dormer.
Yeah.
Natalie Dormer is my Elizabeth.
I like that one.
And plus, she has the Charles Dance connection. She probably can get the audition at least. Who's your pick, Chelsea?
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson. She's great in This Is the End. where she comes out with the baseball bat.
Yeah.
That's a great scene.
She can be pushy. Like, I think of her in the Harry Potter, like a little bit overbearing and just a big presence. That's how I view her.
And she's right around the right age.
Yep.
Very cool. And she's British. British? Oh, can we do the game where we say Forrest Gump lines with a Cockney accent?
But Lieutenant Dan, you ain't got no legs. Life is like a box of chocolates. Me mum says you never know what you're gonna get.
I think you shut me up like 10 minutes ago because we're going to run long. Your turn, Sean.
That's all I got to say about that.
Go, Sean.
No.
Nice one. My actress is 33 years old, age appropriate to my recast. She was in The Danish Girl. She was in Testament of Youth, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and Ex Machina. I went with Alicia Vikander.
She's the best, dude. Next up, we've got the fourth and final role that we're going to recast, and that is the role of the creature or the monster. The thing that people often call Frankenstein, even though he is not Frankenstein, he is Frankenstein's monster. And that role was played by the great Christopher Lee. Chelsea, who was your pick?
I don't think he's a monster, but I think he would do a good job. He was in Marriage Story, like all this new Star Wars shit. I went with Adam Driver.
Adam Driver's the creature, yeah. I could see him like lumbering.
Yeah, well, some of the stuff he did, like on SNL, like some of those skits, that's where I was like, yeah,
Right
you
on.
can do this.
Sean, what do you got?
I went with an actor who is 44 years old, and he's played an android before, which is kind of a Frankenstein's monster.
In a way.
In a way. He was in Shame. He was in X-Men First Class. He was in Steve Jobs. And Prometheus, I went with Michael Fassbender.
So he's a fast bender, dude. My pick, this is a tough one because you only see Christopher Lee in the makeup, which, as we said, is not the greatest makeup, but he really leaned into the physical characteristics of this portrayal, right? And so I just kind of had to go with somebody who was leaning forward and looking at the camera the same way. He's 36 now. His name is James Norton. James Norton is my pick for the creature. And I wish I had some credits for him, but I don't. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. So thoughts on The Curse of Frankenstein?
I liked it for the reasons aforementioned.
I liked it as well. I thought that the Peter Cushing portrayal, like you were saying, was especially good.
I liked it.
Right on. That brings us to the bonus segment, which is going to be a battle royale between some heavy hitters we've mentioned tonight. Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, Dracula, and the Mummy.
Well, we have two undead. I'm sorry, three undead.
Aren't they all undead?
Not the Wolfman.
I would pick Dracula. I have a love affair with vampires, and I don't mean fucking Twilight and all of this, modern day bullshit. I'm talking about the ones I've read about in books, Bela Lugosi, like all of...
Where do you fall on Bram Stoker's Dracula, the 1990s one?
I haven't seen it.
Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder.
I haven't seen it.
Gary Oldman as the Count.
I haven't seen it.
It's quite good.
I will watch it.
It's almost...
Directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
It's almost quite good.
I like it more than you, Sean. I think we've established that many times.
Keanu Reeves destroys that movie. Hey, I'm going to go with Dracula.
He's in the midst of his woodenness.
I'm going to go with Dracula.
You're going Dracula. I'm going Wolfman because he is not undead. That's
so
going to
he can be killed.
Well, he can be killed, but he's also got that power of life. And you always want the living thing to win, right? In these movies, you want the thing that's actually alive to win. So that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
And we want to wrap things up. I want to thank you, Chelsea, the regulator, from being here, hobbled and whatnot.
Yes, I will do better with the Untapped. It's really honestly been a crazy, few weeks.
Forever.
Fuck you.
I meant you were going to take care of it forever. And then also, thank you to my co-host and co-producer, the engineer, the brew boss, Little Thanos.
We got new mic stands. We got new cables.
Yeah, we're sounding good, you guys.
We're living the life. Well,
So good.
we had the technical difficulties a few weeks ago.
Thank you for bearing with us, Chop Shoppers.
We hopefully have nipped the problem in the bud.
And do you know what next week's episode is, sir?
Alien abduction movies.
Alien abduction movies. So I do have a sneak preview, question and answer for the listeners out there. There's no trivia next week, by the way. There's no trivia week. I'm going to be taking a much needed vacation up in the mountains of Asheville. But this is your trivia question for this episode. Who starred as the main character, Travis Walton, in 1993's Fire in the Sky?
Wait, his name was Travis Walton as well?
Yeah, okay, so the one in Old Yeller wasn't Travis Walton. It was Travis like Olsen or something like that.
Okay. So Travis.
That's why that was in my head.
Was it the main character?
The main character who gets abducted.
Oh, that's
His last name's not Cooper.
D.B. Sweeney.
D.B. Sweeney, not D.B. Cooper.
It was
but
on the
D.B.
tip of my tongue.
Sweeney.
Thank you for the assist.
Yes. And are you aware of this, Chelsea? Did you know that?
Have you ever
Fire
seen
in the
Fire
Sky?
in the Sky?
Oh, shit.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's got Henry Thomas in it.
It scared the fuck out of me when I was a kid. Came out in 1993. I was 13.
Yes.
And lived in New Mexico where alien abduction stories run rampant. And it scared the hell out of me. The great D.B. Sweeney, you would know him from The Cutting Edge with Moira Kelly.
Yeah.
All right, we want to plug the podcast itself. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on all of your podcatcher apps. We are hosted online on podbean.com. We're Cinema Chop Shop on there. On Twitter, we are at Cinema Chop Shop. We're Cinema Chop Shop on Facebook and at Cinema Chop Shop on Gmail and Instagram and Untapped. We're Cinema Chop Shop on Untapped, where Chelsea's going to see murder everything. Finally, the audio version of this will also be on YouTube, hopefully with a picture that goes with it. And then we want to say farewell to you, the listeners. Don't forget to get that vax. Otherwise, social distance and wear a mask. And please remember to watch, chop, retrofit.
Yeah, do it.
What?